Hey y'all, this week on Starting Roll, I am here with
Trisha Hershberger.
the one and only. Trisha, where would people know you from?
You can find me doing tech content with Newegg and Kingston, gaming content with Geek and Sundry, or a little bit more tabletop gaming content with Caffeine.
Today we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering.
Oh, heck yeah, we are.
And how it kind of formed a little bit of your early nerddom.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And somehow we start talking about how that turns into a side hustle, and your side hustle turns into a career.
Yeah, how to make a career out of the things that you're passionate about.
Well, how about we go to the table and check that out?
Let's do it.
Hi, Trisha.
Hi, James.
Welcome to Starting Roll.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. This place is so cool.
Yeah, the Dragon and Meeple in downtown Los Angeles is pretty snazzy.
It is.
It's a great place to play games.
Here yet. But their decor is on par with that of my house, so
Yeah.
I instantly feel at home.
So you were telling me something very interesting about Magic the Gathering. You went to a all-girls high school?
I went to an all-girls high school, yeah, and but I mean, even prior to that, I was kind of a kid that didn't have a lot of friends, and I think it's just because I had more unusual interests. Like, it was very typical for young females in the 80s to be into, I don't know, My Little Ponies and Barbies and that kind of stuff. And I very quickly was like, no, board games, video games, PC modding as a way to play video games. And you know, when you go to school and you talk about that, everyone kind of goes, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends ended up being boys. And then in high school, I went to an all-girls high school with the intention of getting a full scholarship to college. It was a very good academic school, and that's why I went there. But I had a hard time finding like-minded individuals.
Sure.
And I did definitely find a few that were totally awesome sauce, but for the most part,
Yeah.
my friend group was from a gaming club at the all-boys school down the street. So after school, when I didn't have speech and debate or theater club at my school, I would go to their school to gaming club, which was a tabletop gaming club. How cool is that?
That's pretty neat.
Magic was perfect for short sessions, 4 players, just sit around a table and have a good time.
Right.
Or just sit around a table and deck build with other people and discuss deck building strategies. And
Sure.
It held a very special place in my heart, and to this day, I have not played another trading card game that I feel like is as complex and as well thought through. And I think that's why Magic the Gathering still reigns supreme when it comes
Sure.
to trading card games.
Yeah, I mean, there's the 3, right? The 3 at the top.
What would you say the 3 are?
You got Magic the Gathering,
Okay.
you got Pokemon, and you got Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, I think if you go into like retail stores, right, they would tell you that's what they sell the
Sure.
most of.
My first experience of the Pokemon trading card game was, this is Magic for babies. But yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Magic in high school at the boys' school down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I did. And so that was my solid group of friends for a very long time and a lot of my extracurricular life.
Sure. And how did that feel being, you were coming from the all-female school to there was an all-boy club. Was there any like weirdness as far as like Trisha like popping into the all-boys club to like play Magic the Gathering?
You would think that there would be, but I don't remember it that way. And it could just be rose-colored glasses, but I really remember it being more novel
Sure.
than anything else, which is funny because I feel like gaming has moved after that time into a time of, where it's very gatekeepery and people who are other than what you would normally expect maybe are pushed out. I didn't have that experience. I kind of came in and people were like, oh, cool. Like, that's new.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a negative thing. It was a very like, oh, this is rad. And especially with tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, it would make sense that there might be a female in the adventuring party. But just
Right.
because maybe they were playing with all male players who all chose male characters, they wouldn't get that experience. So I think a lot of people were excited to have that experience in
Sure.
general of, having that and having that variety. But it was funny for me specifically with Magic, not amongst my friend groups who knew me, but anytime I would go and play in circles that didn't know me,
Sure.
I would feel like a lot of times, because I'm a very petite person and I tend to be high energy, people would underestimate my gaming skills. But you know what? I totally used it to my advantage.
Sure.
I was like, you're right. Yeah, hope I do well. And then come in and like wipe the floor with everybody, which was great. Plus in high school, I played a 80 card 4-color deck, which like you are not supposed to do. It's
Right.
very hard to control that kind of deck. But amongst the circles that I played in, it performed very well.
Sure.
So people would see, this tiny girl come in with an 80 card 4-color deck and be like, "Meh," and then so it was really fun for me to kind of be the odd man out sometimes at that time.
What do you think it is about Magic? Like, why is it 20 plus years of domination in trading card? And it's not only is it not slowing down, but it seems to be now picking up steam even further, right? WotC with Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering seem like it's just exploding, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
I think it's several things. So I would say early game, the big thing about it was that it was very cleverly positioned in a way that it was like, okay, when you're in between tabletop RPG sessions, which take a while, and you just need something to do, here's a quicker fantasy-based game that you can sit down and play in small groups. And so I think it really caught people's attention because of that, because people love living in fantasy world. But after that, honestly, I just think it's the complexity of the game and how well balanced it is. So say when you look at something like the 5-color Magic types, they are all incredibly well balanced, have their own unique personalities, and giving people the ability not only to strategize with the deck they have, but strategize in their deck building and in their card collecting gives so many layers to this game, and keeps it, I don't want to say easy to learn, hard to master, because I don't believe that Magic the Gathering is very easy to learn. I do think you have to invest some time to even just get the basics of it, but because you can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, I think it holds people's attention, and I think it has for years and years and years. And I would say to date, I don't think there's any other trading card game that has done it as successfully as Magic the Gathering has.
The few times I've played, I haven't played a lot.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
But when I did play, I felt that it's like, oh, what am I gonna put in here? Because I just got waxed by this deck. So what would I put into my deck now to try to counter that?
Right.
But then you may not play that deck again. So then you're like, and you're constantly like working through your mind on the different cards and the setups that you could put in there.
For me, I need to play test quite a bit before I've perfected a deck. So I'll put something in because it's got card combos I like in it, or a specific strategy that I want to try out, and then it's not until I get completely wiped by another deck that I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't have enough defense against low-cost aggro decks in this deck, so let me adjust it. And then through play, you end up with something that you're like, yeah, it is really good. I'm proud of this.
And then obviously there's a little gambling, right? When you crack packs.
Sure.
And you get that really hot card that everybody's got to have right now. I feel like that's definitely at least part of the formula that they have going.
It is, and I actually enjoyed the game a little bit better before everybody just went online and looked up what the hot deck strats were.
Sure.
Because now I feel like when you have easy access to what the best deck strategies are, the game becomes a little bit pay to win, because you can just keep buying packs until you get exactly what you need, and then you can carbon copy whatever that winning deck strategy was.
Right. What do you think it is about gaming? And this could be just gaming in general.
Yeah.
Like obviously our show's kind of hyper focused on tabletop. But what is it about gaming that makes it worth kind of devoting your life to?
I think it's the idea that, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people grew up seeing their parents maybe slave away at jobs that they did not love, that they were like, this is a means to an end to pay the bills. And I think a lot of us as young kids were like, I don't want that for my adult life or for the rest of my life. Like if I'm gonna spend 40 hours a week at something, I'd love it to be something that I enjoyed. So, I mean, it sets the bar really high, but I think now more than ever, there are so many career opportunities in the gaming space, between competitive gaming, production of events in gaming, management of gaming talent, social media for games, legal, casting, like it just goes on and on.
I mean, there's 10 people in the room here helping us shoot a show talking about gaming.
Yes!
Shut up, Brian. Why you wanna check my math? So I talk to a lot of people who have their side hustle, right? They have their 40-hour-a-weeker to pay bills, right?
Yeah.
But they've got a side hustle that they want to grow. So Trisha, what would you say? Now I'm putting you on the spot here.
Totally, let's do it.
What are some things that what are some practical things they can do to take that side hustle to the next level to make it where, hey, can I actually transition to that full time?
Yeah, in my opinion, the best way to do that is to diversify. And I think that you will hear other people give you the opposite strategy of put all your eggs in one basket and really focus on one platform or one thing and hone it in. To me, I say diversify because that's how I've built my career. Kind of diversifying across different platforms and across different mediums. So if something goes in or out of fashion very quickly, or a social media platform suddenly implodes, like look at mine or something like that, you still have other means of income. And it also doesn't put all the pressure on, say, something like YouTube, where when the adpocalypse happens for the 50 millionth time, you're not like, no, there goes all my income. You can get a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here and put it all together, and that makes a full-time income. But I don't know, like for me, I'd say if you have your 40-hour-a-week job and your side hustle, and you can diversify between Patreon, merch, a couple different social media platforms, maybe a little brand deal every now and then, whatever it is, and you start to see kind of those levels of your side hustle and your regular job of how much they earn starting to do this. When you get to a point that they're about equal and you look at this one and say, okay, I think I can make that happen, even though it's probably going to be a huge pay cut because you were making 2 incomes, you know, and now you're going to one that's probably less than what your full-time job was. Really think about, okay, with the extra hours that I'm going to get back in my week to donate to the side hustle, how can I strategize that into something that's going to have a good return on investment? And really think about it as a business. Like, yes, it's super fun. Yes, we're talking about gaming, but look at your P&L. And look at how I can increase the profits and how I can make this viable.
So how do you deal with that risk/stress, right? Because what you're talking about right there, that's a very stressful thing to go from, I have security, I have security in the 40-hour, right? Like, I know I'm gonna get my paycheck, to like,
well, that's, so for me, I played it safe and I waited until the side hustle got to the equal level. Now, granted, that can come and go at any time because for a lot of people that's very gig-based or freelance-based and very up and down. So be good at budgeting and make sure that you have enough to kind of cover your butt in case you have a slow month or two. But yeah, I would argue make sure that you can cover your butt for a few months before you take that plunge. And have a secure plan in place for what you want to do and how you're going to build out your business, because it now officially is a business once you've left your full-time job. When I took the plunge, I left a full-time job doing marketing for Samsung's IT department, and left it for a YouTube career that made 25% of the income I was making with Samsung. But I looked at it and I said, you know what? Like, it's not going to be certainly as comfortable as I'm used to being right now, or as secure, but I can make that work. And this is my dream, and I didn't move all the way out to LA to do marketing. So take the plunge and let's do it. And you know, hustle your buns off until it works.
What would you say, do you feel like if people want to be content creators, is LA necessary? What are the advantages of LA?
So if you want to be your own self-produced one-man show content creator, I would say don't come to LA. However, the things that LA offers you are opportunities to collaborate with other brands that maybe then, you know, if you're collaborating a lot, you'll start to see some audience crossover, and that's a great way to grow your audience. But if you're in another place, you can just concentrate like, hey, if I'm gonna be in LA for VidCon or TwitchCon or whatever, I can do a whole bunch of collaborations, like fly in a week early, and get a whole bunch of them done in that one time. So there are ways to do that, but overall your cost of living will be less somewhere else. Now, for me, it was beneficial to be in LA because I produce and host a lot of content for networks that I do not own myself. I produce stuff for networks I own, of course, but I wouldn't have the opportunity to host and produce and work with other networks if I was not Los Angeles local. So it depends on how you're choosing to diversify.
So if you could give one parting bit of advice to somebody who's saying, all right, I know this is what I want to do with my life. I am in the steps. Like, I know you said diversify, but is there any other thing, like what's one thing that you only had the elevator pitch?
Only do it if you love it, because you will spend many years shouting into an empty room with very little community for no pay. And not only no pay, negative pay, because you're going to be spending your money and your time producing content for free. So if you don't love it, you're gonna be miserable. Like when I see people that are like, I wanna get into content creation because I wanna be famous or I wanna be rich, I'm like, those things may never come. And if you're only doing it for that end goal and that end goal never comes, how miserable of a life would that be? So make sure that it's something that you are enjoying every step of the journey, because that's 99% of it.
I call it organic passion. If you're not organically passionate about whatever it is your side hustle is, that you're going to quit.
Of course you are. No one wants to work 80 plus hours a week at a job that they hate. I mean, that goes back to why I wanted to do all of this in the first place, because you don't want to burn out. You don't want to be miserable. You want to spend your life doing something that you care about. And also, just to double down on that, if you're making content about something you're not passionate about, the audience will be able to see that in a heartbeat.
Right. For me personally, I knew that when I started designing games, that I'd be up to 2, 3 in the morning, like working on a design, and I didn't have to force myself to do it, right? Like it engulfed me, and then I'd wake up the next morning, even though I had to go to my 40-hour, and I was like, that's all I could think about.
Right.
And so I think you've nailed it with that. If there's not an organic passion, if there's not a love for whatever it is that you're trying to turn into your side hustle to, you're gonna quit, because it's gonna get hard, and it's just easy to quit when something's hard.
But if you do love it and you do put in the investment and sacrifice, it can super pay off.
Well, Trisha, if people want to follow all the things that you do on the social medias, where can they follow you? We'll put it on the screen too.
Ooh, lower thirds. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, sometimes Snapchat, but I rarely play there. That girl Trish with no I in the girl. That's also my gamer tag if you want to add me on Steam or Xbox or anything else. And then on YouTube and Twitch, where I live stream games, that's just /Trisha Hershberger, just my full name spelled out.
Well, thanks for joining us. Do you want to walk me through some deck building? Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, so yes,